Well, we saw yesterday a poor performance from Derby County, and a lot of people will agree with that. And I think there's a lot to talk about with this performance. Now, obviously, I did my full match review yesterday, so if you want to go and hear my instant match reaction, make sure you do go and check that one out after this video. But in this video, I'm going to be discussing what transfer moves Derby County need to make and what moves they need to make heading into further games to sort of make us more defensively solid and solidify like what we were last season, which was defensively astute. We didn't concede many goals and creating chances. Now, I felt last night we didn't create much from open play. I felt we weren't defensively solid, and I felt the midfield got dragged apart at points. I felt fullbacks were too high and wide, which ultimately then left us a bit short at the back. And some of you may agree, some of you may not. But I'm going to get into what I think Derby County should do heading into the next group of games. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to stay tuned for all my latest Derby County and EFL content coming out over the course of the next few weeks and months over the course of the season. Obviously, there'll be a Derby County vs Chesterfield preview and a League One review out probably tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed to see that. Now, obviously, you probably will have noticed last night that Derby County in defensive situations weren't very great. We conceded, in my opinion, what was easy goals, and I think we've got to look at the defensive sloppiness which has grew into the squad throughout pre-season. Now, I do think Paul Warne can get this out of the squad. Now, the big question is, can he help us become defensively resolute without nullifying what we've got going forward? Because we had opportunities, we did have opportunities to score more goals last night. The big problem was they weren't clear cut in open play. We had a couple of opportunities breaking with pace, but then we didn't utilise those areas enough. We had Kenzo picking up the ball in really nice spaces, playing some really nice passes through to Caden Jackson, and we just didn't do what we need to do with the ball in possession. I felt as if when we had the ball with our centre-backs, all they were looking for was full-backs or wingers, full-backs or wingers. It wasn't often that we got the ball into a midfield player. Now, there was points, don't get me wrong, where David Ozo picked it up, but it would then go out to a full-back, sort of one touch straight out. And there was opportunities where we could play into Kenzo or Ben Osborne, and we didn't, and then we went wide and lost the ball. And I think the big problem that we did have over the course of the performance last night, and something that I think we need to address, is if you go back a few years to when we had Weimann in charge, we'd have our midfielder, we'd have our two number 8s essentially pulling into right back and left back to get on the ball, because that was the way we was going with possession. And I think that's something which Derby County need to look at. Now, I don't necessarily think the midfield was bad last night. It wasn't the best it's ever been, and it will grow to become better than it was, but it wasn't great. We got pulled apart a bit. There was points where David Ozo would press and no one would drop into cover, or Kenzo would go and Osborne would then go, and then you're left with a massive gap. And that's something that I mentioned in that match review yesterday, and that's something which needs to be sorted into future games, including the Chesterfield game coming up on Tuesday evening. It's going to be a very tough test, that one, because they're running on a high of getting back into the Football League. They had a fairly decent performance the other night where they drew 1-1, I believe, with Swindon Town. So it's going to be an interesting one over the course of the next few days. I think transfer wise, obviously we know a goalkeeper's coming in, won't be available till Watford. We have the situation at centre half where I don't think we have enough quality in a sense from Sonny Bradley that's really pushing Nelson and Cashin, which obviously then makes it really difficult because they're never really going to be in a threat of losing their position. Now, I'm not saying they were terrible last night. I don't think Cashin was at his best at all in the slightest. Thought Nelson was fairly decent, but I thought Cashin was certainly not in his tip-top condition. And it's a situation really where I don't think Sonny Bradley can play in a back four, but I don't think we have the players to play a back three, which is where I think we need to improve recruitment-wise, because you look at the forwards we've got, they're all If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL content coming over the course of this upcoming season. We've just hit 1,000 subscribers. We're pushing now for the next 1,000. You know you can help, so hit that big red subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Proper wingers that want to be wide and go 1v1, whereas if you're going to play a 3-4-3, you need them sort of inside forward narrow wingers. And now obviously Karamoko Dembele going to QPR sort of kills one of them options, but is there going to be other options for Derby County? Now Alan Nixon does have a story on Derby County for Sunday. It's going to be interesting to see what that is. I'm hoping that it's some talk about a striker. Now as it stands right now, on Tuesday night, I'd play Dajaune Brown up front because I think there could be an opportunity for him to grab that number 9 shirt. Now, obviously, Jerry Yates will be the starter when he's back from his suspension. But obviously, we've got 2 more games until he's back. And if Dajaune Brown starts on Tuesday, scores, then plays against Middlesbrough and plays well, you're then in a position where are you going to flip it and take him out? Now, at the moment, no one's place is solid, in my opinion. I think the only 2 places where you can't really change much is centre-half, because I don't think we have any proper quality coming off the bench or through the academy at the moment to take those positions. I think people are still a few years away from being in that situation from the academy. So it is a bit of an awkward one for Derby County to look into sort of what changes they can make. Now, I am reluctantly under the impression that Paul Warne may flip to a back 3 because I do think he'll think we can be a bit more solid in the defensive areas. Now, the big question there is, what are you going to do with the midfield? Are you going to play a 2 or are you going to play a 3? If you play a 3, then you've got to have 2 strikers, and that for me would be Caden Jackson and James Collins. But you can't drop Mendes Lang because he's just put on 2 assists. And then I think it's difficult to drop Kane Wilson because I think he was one of the shining lights. Now, ultimately, there was points in the game where he was caught out because of the type of player he is. As an advanced fullback, he's not really a defender's defender, and that's where I think Ryan Nyambi could come in at centre half, right centre half in a 3, to sort of fill those gaps. Now, that's something we need to look at throughout this transfer window. We have 2 or so weeks left, maybe 3 weeks of this transfer window left, for Paul Warne to fill out this squad and add bodies and add quality. Now, ultimately, last night wasn't great, and people believe I may have overreacted, and people are entitled to that opinion, but I do think that we started badly last season in a poor League One, and luckily we was able to turn it around. We're not going to have that luxury in the Championship. We don't have this, we don't have the quality that we had in a League One sense. Like, we was the big fish in a small pond in League One. We're now the small fish in a bigger pond in the Championship, and this is where we need to add bodies. We need to add quality. I think we probably need another man in midfield, a proper creator. I think we need another wide man, like a proper narrow wide man that's going to pick up the ball in those central areas, and that sort of links in with bringing in a creative midfielder, a proper number 10. And then obviously the centre-back position, where I think if we play a back 3, we've got the right wing-backs in Elder and Wilson. If we play a back 4, you can only play one of those players, because you have to play a Fozzie or a Niambi to sort of be defensively sound, and that's what we weren't last night. So it's massively important that during these final few weeks of the transfer window, we look into a centre-back, we look into a midfielder that's a proper number 10, we look into a wide man that's more of a narrow wide man, and obviously we need a striker. We need more than just Jerry Yates to fill that void, and that's the problem that I think Derby are going to face this season. Is at the moment we've not spent more than the Salon add-ons that we've bought in over the course of this summer window, with Kellyman, Delat, Bogle all moving clubs. And this is where my problem is with this transfer window, is we've made these deals, we've bought in these players, But so far, realistically, the budget set at the end of last season, before those deals were made with Kellyman and things like that, that budget hasn't been touched, or shouldn't have been touched, because I believe we've spent around £2.7 million, and I believe that's similar to what we've received in sell-ons and add-ons. So for me, Derby County have to go out and spend some money. We have to go bring in a number 9 that is going to be competitive at this level. We have to bring in a number 10 that's going to be competitive at this level, and the same with a centre-half. I think a centre-half with pace in that central centre-back role in a back 3 is absolutely what Derby County need. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Some people probably still go, oh, he's overreacting, blah, blah, blah. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in my next video. Be sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.